completely out of touch and it's an insult to the intelligence of the American people and the lived experience.
Hello and welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, then hi, my name is Brittany and I'm a nurse practitioner. I'm also the creator of the Brittany Holzbeck NP Review. It is the most comprehensive and affordable nurse practitioner boards review on the market. And so I've been pretty MIA lately, and that's because I've basically been in a hole updating my review course. And so the entire course is updated and now available on my Patreon. I'll make sure to have the link in the description box below if you want to check it out. It was it was a lot of work, but I'm really happy with the outcome. I also included a lot more pictures and like memory tricks, because I know that it's really helpful to have like those mnemonics and stuff to help to remember things when you're taking the test, and so I really made it a point to include those in the review. And so I'm currently in the process right now of having it accredited again through the AANP. You have to do this yearly, and so the tentative date for that is January 1st, 2025. Where is time going? It should be accredited by then through the AANP. It's a lengthy process getting accredited, and I'm still fairly new to the process. This is my second year going through with it, and so next year I'll be a little bit more ahead of the curve, I guess, and I won't have this like layover in between where it's not accredited. That being said, it is in the process. The tentative date to have it accredited is January 1st. It's tedious, it's expensive. There's a reason why everyone doesn't do it anyway, but it's still available. The whole course is still available on the Patreon. So if you are in need of some resources, you're studying for your boards, or if you're just a nurse practitioner student looking for some supplemental information, or if you're a new nurse practitioner and you want to have some good refreshers, there is so much stuff there. So again, I'll have everything linked in the description box below if you want to come and check me out on Patreon. Anyway, so now that we got that out of the way, I want to go over the story in regards to Luigi Mangione. I know we have all heard about this story. It is all over social media, and I debated about talking about it here on this channel. I also have another channel that I've kind of let fall away because I'm just too overwhelmed with stuff, but I was doing a lot of like crime podcast stuff. I really am interested in true crime, and I kind of thought maybe I would just bring it here to this channel and talk kind of like podcast style with you guys about different current events. And so this one is very pertinent to the healthcare community because currently, as we all know, Luigi Mangione is the person of interest for the murder of United Healthcare's CEO, Brian Thompson. Of course, it's alleged he is innocent until proven guilty, and he does deserve to have that presumed innocence. But right now, he is the only person in custody and the only person of interest. And it just feels like an episode out of Criminal Minds. Truly, it does. I don't know if any of you watched Criminal Minds. I watched every episode, and it just feels like a straight out of an episode of Criminal Minds. And so I wanted to not only talk over the details of the case, I kind of wanted to do a bit of a deep dive into Luigi Mangione, and then I will share with you guys some of my opinions on the case and what I think. So Luigi Mangione, he is 26 years old, and from what I've seen, he has been born to a very affluent family. He appears to be also incredibly intelligent. He was born and raised in Maryland. He is related to a very prominent family there. They own multiple country clubs, healthcare facilities, estate companies. He's also the cousin of a Maryland state delegate, Nino Mangione. His paternal grandparents, they also purchased multiple country clubs, and they founded the Lorien Health Systems, which is a senior living home there in Maryland. And side note, I checked out their Facebook for the Lorien Health Systems, and there were some not so good reviews on there. Some people were speaking very, very poorly of the institution, and that there was just a lot of negligent care happening there. But regardless, the family is affiliated with the healthcare system in one way or another. And clearly we are talking about generational wealth here. They're a very wealthy, established, known, prominent family. And like I said too, Luigi appears to be very, very intelligent. You know, his education was quite esteemed. He graduated from the University of Pennsylvania in 2020 after receiving his Master's of Science in Engineering. Also graduated valedictorian from high school. And so academically, Luigi has been extremely successful. His last known address was in Honolulu, Hawaii. Appears he was part of some like communal living situation referred to as surf break, but according to another member, Sarah Nehemia, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, Luigi Mangione, he left this like co-op living after exacerbating a chronic back issue that he had from just like the island living, you know, surfing and hiking, and so he left the community. It is said by Sarah and other members that they believe he briefly returned to Hawaii early in 2023 and he started a book club, but it's said that several members of his book club actually left because they felt, quote, discomfort in regards to Luigi's book choices. And so if you look, Luigi actually has a Goodreads account where you can leave, you know, multiple reviews for different books that you've read. He even went on there and reviewed The Lorax, which I thought was quite fitting for him.
This is a man who gave The Lorax 5 stars on Goodreads. This is a man of the trees. I would climb you like one too.
But one review I would say that is worth mentioning was that of John Kaczynski's manifesto titled Industrial Society and the Future, which is a critique against modern technology. And so if you're not familiar with the author, he was also referred to as the, quote, Unabomber. And that's because he killed 3 and injured 2 in this nationwide mail bombing where he attempted to, you know, target these individuals that he believed were contributing to the advancement of modern technology. And so Kaczynski also, not to mention, was extremely intelligent. He was considered to be a mathematics prodigy. He had education from Harvard and University of Michigan. And so very, very intelligent. But, you know, afterwards he sort of became this like recluse and developed these extreme views. So Mangione actually reviewed Kaczynski's manifesto in June of 2021. And so you can see here on the screen the review in whole, but I want to just read a few parts of what Luigi had to say about John Kaczynski's manifesto. And so he wrote, quote, "He was a violent individual, rightfully imprisoned, who maimed innocent people. And while these actions tend to be characterized as those of a crazy Luddite, however, they are more accurately seen as those of an extreme political revolutionary." And so then further down in Luigi's review, he says, quote, "When all other forms of communication fail, violence is necessary to survive. Peaceful protest is outright ignored. Economic protest isn't possible in the current system. So how long until we recognize that violence against those who lead us to such destruction is justified as self-defense?" And then in the last sentence he wrote, quote, "Violence never solved anything is a statement uttered by cowards and predators." And so in light of everything that we know now, I think this review left by Luigi, you know, it's very thought-provoking. And if in fact he is the person that murdered Brian Thompson, I think it could kind of shed some light on Luigi's motives. And so I want to now just briefly go over the timeline of events before I go into my opinions on the matter. So according to the indictment on November 24th, Mangione used a fake ID under the name Mark Rosario, and he checked into a hostel on the Upper West Side of New York. There he extended his stay multiple times until December 4th, the day of the murder. At 5:34 a.m. on December 4th, what is said to be Mangione leaves the hostel and travels to Manhattan on an e-bike. He stops at a Starbucks and he purchases a water and a granola bar before posting up directly across from the Hilton Hotel. And there he was seen wearing a hood, a mask, standing silently and waiting. And then at 6:45 a.m., he crosses the street, headed towards the Hilton Hotel, and he approaches Brian Thompson from behind. He shot him once in the leg and then once in the back using a 3D printed gun equipped with a silencer. And now I don't know if I'm just naive to this whole lifestyle, but I had no idea that you could 3D print a gun. I mean, I guess I should figure that you can 3D print everything, but when I read this, I thought that was crazy, but I guess that's a thing. The assailant then fled the scene, leaving behind 2 shell casings with the words "deny" and "depose," and then a bullet with the word "delay," all of which echo phrases that are commonly used by insurance companies that are attempting to avoid paying claims. But it wasn't until 5 days later, on December 9th, when Luigi was spotted at a McDonald's wearing a surgical mask, eating a hash brown, and a call was made to the police, which led to a very quick arrest. And would you believe it, that officers found on Luigi his 3D printed hand, the fake ID that he used at the hostel, and a manifesto basically admitting to the crime. So he had all of these things on his person. And so I just wanted to read a little bit of Mangione's manifesto. He wrote, quote, "To the feds, I'll keep this short because I do respect what you do for our country. To save you a lengthy investigation, I state plainly that I wasn't working with anyone. This was fairly trivial. The spiral notebook, if present, has some straggling notes and to-do lists that illuminate the gist of it. I do apologize for any strife or traumas, but it had to be done. Frankly, these parasites had it coming. A reminder, the U.S. has the #1 most expensive healthcare system in the world, yet we rank roughly number 42 in life expectancy. United Healthcare, I'm assuming, is the largest company in the U.S. by market cap, behind only Apple, Google, Walmart, and it has grown and grown, but has our life expectancy." You know, he makes some good points and he asks some valid questions, I would say. And you can't argue there with what he said. Our healthcare system is deplorable. And so it really is, you know, almost too much of a coincidence that Luigi had all of these things on him at a frickin' McDonald's nonetheless. And so some people even theorize that Luigi was framed or set up. I personally do not believe that. I don't think that he was set up. And I'll get to my thoughts on the case here in just a second. But Luigi has been indicted now on first-degree murder charges, along with a slew of other charges, and all which could very easily add up to the rest of his life behind prison bars. Since his arrest, the response across social media has been loud, let's say. Very, very loud. People all over social media, all over different platforms, are essentially celebrating Luigi and referring to him as a hero of sorts. It's really not hard, I guess, to see why. I mean, it's sad. It's sad that this is the state of the world and that it is so broken, but people are clearly tired of the way our healthcare system works here in America. To put it very bluntly, United Healthcare is a very money-hungry, greedy, disgusting corporation that has continued to prioritize money and profits over patients. When compared to other large healthcare insurance companies, United Healthcare denies the most claims. And so that's just another way to say that United Healthcare denies the most people their healthcare needs when compared to other insurance companies, be it medications, be it procedures, tests, specialist consults, so on and so forth. Not to say that these other insurance companies are good. They're also crap, but this is just the worst of the crap. That's really, though, it's truthful. So, a doctor, a nurse practitioner, a physician assistant, someone that's been trained to diagnose and treat patients can say that patient needs, X, Y, or Z, and health insurance companies can simply say, just like that. And so you can try and appeal their denial, but it might go through or you might get denied again. And regardless, all of this process takes time. And we know in terms of health and the best outcomes, time is imperative. It's a phrase that we used to say all the time in the ER is time is tissue, because the faster we respond to healthcare problems, the better the prognosis is. And so appealing these denials takes time, and it's not even always approved afterwards. And so it's really, really disheartening that health insurance companies have such a say in what the patient receives as far as treatment. And it's not uncommon where people are left literally making choices to either put food in their refrigerator or paying for life-saving medications. It's truly not uncommon. There are tons of comments from people all over the country sharing their stories of how insurance companies have denied their necessary healthcare treatments.
So when I was 10 years old, I was in a really bad car accident with my mom, and I ended up being in a coma for around a week. And when I finally woke up, doctors told me that I'd had a spinal cord injury and I would never, ever walk again. Now, there's probably a lot of things that you're automatically thinking that would be difficult for me, that I had to go through after this. But the one thing you might not expect is that insurance denied getting a wheelchair for me for 4 years. I'm gonna let that sink in. I was told I would never walk again. 4 years. 4 years it took them to pay for me to get a wheelchair. And during this time, my mom, who was a single mom, who didn't have much money, sought out a pediatric wheelchair that was close enough to fitting me and ended up renting this chair for me. And I was in so much pain from age 10 to 14 because this wheelchair didn't fit me and it was so uncomfortable on my body. Unfortunately, I am by no means an isolated incident.
And I think it's disgusting but important to mention that in just 2023, United Healthcare, their net income was $22.3 billion. Billion. And even more so, when you leave the talk of healthcare, literally babies are starving to death. There are literally homeless children that are starving to death, and these corrupt bureaucrats are making billions of dollars on the backs of people just trying to live longer. That's really what it is, essentially. It makes me sick to think about. I hope it makes everyone sick when you think about any person or corporation making billions of dollars when there are starving babies. Look, I don't know what I personally believe in the afterlife. You may have your beliefs, and I respect anyone and their beliefs, but I don't know what I believe. But I can tell you this. If there is a hell, those greedy they are getting a one-way ticket. I can understand the apathy there towards the death of Brian Thompson. Anyways, I digress a little bit, but I think it's important to say. Back to Mangione and now my opinions. One, it appears that Luigi Mangione was suffering from chronic back pain after a back injury, which unfortunately I know intimately myself. I know what chronic back pain can be like, and chronic pain can change a person if they allow it. It also looks like he might have been experimenting with some alternative therapies such as psilocybin, which they refer to as mushrooms, like on the street, but psilocybin being that active ingredient. So that's something to note. And then I also saw on his Twitter or X account that he shared a quote about utilitarianism, which is an ethical concept that we are very familiar with in the healthcare setting. It is when the most ethical choice is the choice that does the most good for the most people. So for example, if resources are limited, we would allocate ventilators to those patients that have the highest likelihood of survival. And it appears that Mangione resonated with this concept. And so I believe that if Mangione is the person that killed United Healthcare's CEO, because again, for the last time I'll say it, he is innocent until proven guilty, but if it is him, I believe that he would have viewed the killing of Brian as an act of utilitarianism, where two people would lose their life, Brian to death and Luigi to a life behind bars, but he would be hopeful that it would in turn save many others and their lives and their quality of life because they would get the appropriate timely health care. And I think that he would even potentially view it as a catalyst for change or for real healthcare reform. And now, to be clear, I'm not saying that I think it will necessarily work out this way. I mean, in a perfect world, we wouldn't be here, but I just think that this could potentially have been Luigi's thought process and again his motive. And I personally do think that Luigi Mangione, based on what we know thus far, obviously new information could come out, but I do personally think that he is in fact the one that carried out the crime, and I think that he did mean to get caught. He is extremely intelligent. We have seen this. Look at his academic resume. He is a very, very smart man. So why else would he have all of these things on his person? Why would he have the weapon, his manifesto, and his fake ID, and be sitting in a flippin' McDonald's? Again, I can't get over the McDonald's part, wearing the mask. And I mean, when he's like one of the most wanted men at the time, all over social media. Why would he do those things if he didn't want to get caught? Why wouldn't he be ditching all of the gear, and why wouldn't he be in hiding? No, he was literally in plain sight with all of those things on him. And so I think if he did do it, which right now I think he did, I think he wanted to get caught, and he was basically being a martyr. And I want to go back a little bit to the point I made about him experimenting with mushrooms or psilocybin. And I want to point out that I said that for a reason, because I think it might be relevant. So I have seen this firsthand, where if persons have latent mental health problems and they use these psychedelic drugs, it essentially triggers these latent mental health disorders. And so maybe it would have stayed kind of dormant, but because he was using these drugs, maybe he does have some mental health components going on. I mean, I believe he does. I believe anyone that does those type of things has something going on mentally, because obviously not everyone resorts to killing. And so I do wonder if he was experimenting with mushrooms or psilocybin, that maybe some latent mental health problems kind of made their appearance. And it is said too that he had basically cut off contact from his family, his friends, so much so that I think I even read that his mom made a report of him missing. And so if he's battling from chronic pain, which we know, was stopping him from living the lifestyle that he wanted to live, which obviously can take a toll on someone's mental health. He was experimenting with psychedelic drugs. He was isolating from friends, family. That is very indicative of some mental health problems going on. And though his belief in that the healthcare insurance companies are quite literally killing our people, I believe that that is true. The fact that he murdered the CEO of the United Healthcare Corporation quite plainly doesn't, again, shine light on a person of sound mind and a clean bill of mental health. And so I don't want to say that I support killing, because most of the time I don't. I do truly value human life, and I know how fragile it is. And obviously there were alternatives here. Mangione did not need to kill Thompson. There were other options. But I just can't lie and say that I don't, again, understand the apathy towards the death of Brian Thompson. I do understand this feeling. And I can't say that I don't support the angst against America's healthcare system, because I absolutely do. I have personally experienced firsthand healthcare insurance companies denying things that I needed for my own health. And so I know very much firsthand that this system is broken. It does seem like we, the people, have asked nicely, protest peacefully, and yet we really have not seen changes to the broken healthcare policies. We have not seen reform. We've only seen the pockets of these corrupt CEOs grow larger and larger with their blood money. I don't condone murder, but I understand why people are so mad, and more quickly to identify with Luigi than billionaire CEO Brian Thompson. Violence in acts of protest, this is not a new concept. Many wise people before us actually said, quote, "No justice, no peace." I mean, this is an ongoing belief. Regardless, what can we do? So if you are familiar with Dr. Glaucoma Flecken, I don't know if I'm saying that totally correctly, but if you are not familiar with this man, I immediately think that you need to go and subscribe and watch his content, because he puts a hilarious spin on insurance companies and how just corrupt they are. But he made some really good points too about what we can do aside from violence to help promote change. And so you might have seen just recently, Blue Cross Blue Shield tried passing a new policy that basically would put a cap on anesthesia. So they would allot a certain amount of time to have anesthesia for a surgery, and then if it went over the allotted time, then the patient would essentially need to pay out of pocket for that anesthesia. It's literally bonkers. I don't know how else to put it. It's absolute insanity that an insurance company can say, you know what? I don't think they need that much anesthesia. Well, let's leave that one up to anesthesia and the surgeon. Insanity. But regardless, social media got a hold of this information and the outrage spread like wildfire. Small and big creators were sharing this information and just their complete disdain for the possible policy change. And would you believe it? After the massive outrage, Blue Cross Blue Shield dropped the proposal. So I do think that says something. I think that gives us a great lesson on something that we can do to hopefully bring about some kind of reform to our broken healthcare system. And that's using your voice, and specifically on social media, because that is the tool we have and we might as well use it for good. And so use social media to spread any stories that you have pertaining to denials from healthcare insurances. Share your stories. Do not let this continued abuse from the healthcare system go on without people being aware. Be loud about it, because we have seen our voices actually make a change. And I do think it has something to do largely in part to social media. So yeah, I think that is a tool that we have that is not violent. Anyway, I think that's going to be all for today's video. Let me know what you guys thought. I would love to hear your opinions on the case with Luigi Mangione, our healthcare system, and what you think that we can do to help change things for the better, because yeah, it's a mess out there. Our healthcare is just so corrupt. Ugh, and it makes me just absolutely sick to think about billionaires out there just existing when there are starving children and people being denied their chemotherapy or life-saving medications. Literally repulsive. One-way ticket to the fiery gates, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, I think for real that's going to be all. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. Otherwise, I wish you guys nothing but the best. Don't forget to learn something new every day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, guys.